All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bakak, Wadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who do well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David, beginning with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children out of the 12 tribes whom Yahweh Bashem Yahushua will have mercy upon. This is your brother Matis Apath, and this is going to be a continuation in the installment series, the book of Revelation. And today we're going to pick up in Revelation, the 6th chapter breakdown. All right. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. Revelation chapter 6 and verse 1. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, and one of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." So here you have the Lamb, which represents Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, along with one of the four beasts, which represents one of the four living creatures, being the archangels. Verse 2, and I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. So this seal, okay, first seal in verse 2, the white horse, which the white horse represents Yahweh Shai, white meaning purity, horse represents power. And when it speaks about him giving a crown and conquering, essentially what it's going into is when Yahweh Shai returns for the second time in his full glory, all right, he's going to take down all the heathen nations, beginning with Esau, Edom. And let's grab a quick precept and let's go to the book of Revelation, the 19th chapter. And we're going to start right around the 11th verse. Revelation 19:11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. Right? Because remember, the scripture spoke about him conquering. Right? So it goes on to say, verse 12, his eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And why did his head have many crowns? Because when he comes back, he's going to essentially take down all the nations. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name was called the Word of the Most High, right? Because it tells you in Isaiah, the 63rd chapter, who is this that cometh from Basra, all right, whose dyed garments, right? Roughly paraphrasing. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, which the armies represents the Alahayim, okay, the angels. All right, it tells you, going back to Revelation, the first chapter, that every eye should see him. He cometh with clouds. All right, and those clouds, when you get Psalms 104, represents what? The chariots. Psalms chapter 104 and verse 3, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. Okay, so let's go back to Revelation, the 6th chapter. All right, and we left off at verse 2. It says, and I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Verse 3, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. So in this verse, All right, this red horse represents Esau, Edom. Horse represents power, and he was red. All right, let's get a precept. Genesis chapter 25 and verse 30, straight to the point. It says, and Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom, okay, or Adam, which when you go into it, all right, you have here Adam, which actually means red, okay? So this red horse was given power because essentially, all right, you go to Job, the 9th chapter, Esau was given the dominion of the earth, all right? Job chapter 9, verse 24, the earth is given, see that, into who? The hand of the wicked. And he covered the faces of the judges thereof, if not where and who is he? All right. So power, all right, was given to Esau, Edom. All right. Now, when it says, going back to Revelation, the 6th chapter and verse 4, all right, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. Because essentially, let's go to the Apocrypha here. Let's open up this tab. All right. And when you deal with First Maccabees, which is the book that we're in, what you want to understand is when these devils first came into power, they came into power via way of Alexander the Great, all right, who indeed was a Edomite, right? So it says here, First Maccabees 1:1, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, has smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, and whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries, nations, kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. All right, and those servants, meaning his 4 generals, were Ptolemy, Seleucus, Sandras, and Lysimaeus. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule everyone in his place. And here's the main point, verse 9. And after his death, they all, meaning his servants, put crowns upon themselves, and so did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. Because although the other heathen nations, when they ruled, all right, they were not as bad as Esau, Edom, because Esau, Edom is the wicked. So when this devil came into power, all right, beginning with the Greek Empire, and those 4 generals took over after Alexander's death, evils began to multiply on the planet Earth. So essentially speaking, coming back here, all right, Revelation 6:4, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. So the key part here was, it was given unto him a great sword. So another way proving that this is speaking of, in this verse, the Edomites particularly ruling, because when you go back to Genesis, the 27th chapter, and you go into essentially the blessing dealing with Esau, Edom, let's check it out here. Genesis 27, and let's start at verse 38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And that happened. Okay. Once during the time of when King David was ruling. All right. And then again during the time of the Renaissance era. All right. When he took us down, when he took the the last of the Byzantine Empire down, when it was his time to come back into power. So the point that I want to make clear here is that prior to Isaac blessing Esau, he told him that Esau was going to live through the sword. And when you get Psalms, the 17th chapter, dealing with the wicked, all right, the Lord used Esau as his sword. Psalms chapter 17, verse 13, arise, O Yahweh, disappoint him, cast him down, and deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. All right. More proof that Esau represents the sword. All right. Because you get Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4, Esau is that wicked. All right. Malachi 1 and 4, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. Okay, this is why also, let's get one more precept before we come back. When you go to Revelation, the 12th chapter, and it's speaking about the red dragon, okay, which represents the ancient Roman Empire, all right, which the Edomites were your ancient Romans, but they were not the true Romans, because the true Romans goes back to the Japhetic people, right? But when you drop down to verse 7, which says, and there was war in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, that red dragon, which is Esau, Edom. And the dragon fought and his angels, all right, dealing with Esau's military men, so on and so forth. And prevailed not, neither was their place found anymore in heaven, all right, which symbolizes rulership here on earth. And the great dragon, that red dragon, all right, the same red horse mentioned in Revelation, the 6th chapter, was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, and was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with them. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed, Mashiach. For the accuser of our brethren, who's the brethren of Jacob, Esau, Edom, is cast down. This is more proof to show you that the red horse, speaking of in Revelation, the 6th chapter, that's currently ruling, is none other than Esau, Edom, because he has been cast down from his rulership, which accused them before our power day and night, right? So now let's go back to Revelation, the 6th chapter, and let's continue on. So let's read it again, verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red. Now you understand who that red horse was. It's speaking of Esau, Edom. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, right? Because it was said that he would, get dominion of the earth, all right? And the scriptures also speak about that the Lord set it up, the basis of men, and give it the kingdom to whomsoever he will. And it says, and that they shall kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. And we know that sword to be Esau, Edom, because it was not only his blessing, all right, but the Lord used him as the Lord's sword. Okay. So moving on, it says Revelation 6 and 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Now, in this particular verse, the black horse represents judgment. Okay. And the pair of balances represents slavery, all right, or servitude or captivity, which also coincides with Israel going into slavery in the Americas during the transatlantic slave trade, all right? So when you go into that word balances in the Greek, real quick, a pair of balances.
Strong's G 2218, Zugos.
Okay, a yoke, all right, metaphorically speaking, used of any burden or bondage as that of slavery. See that? So the black horse really represents judgment. And, that's what happened with our people. And we went into slavery. It says, verse 6, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. All right. Now, this goes coincide with, let's get a precept when it talks about a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny, because during this famine stage, all right, let's get a precept. Let's come back here to the Apocrypha. Let's go to Second Esdras, the 16th chapter. All right, because we in this phase now, which it's been happening for a while, but it's even more evident today. Second Esdras chapter 16 and verse 21, which says, behold, victuals, all right, your everyday goods, shopping and all of that, shall be so good cheap upon the earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. All right. And that's even happening now. All right. Really going all the way back, starting about, you can say around 5-10 years ago. Because although, you might be catching deals, or, food has become very cheap at some, stage. Ever since the pandemic, it's been, evils have been multiplying, pestilence, okay, inflation, all right, things of that sort. So coming back over here, all right, essentially that's what it means when it goes into a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny. All right. Your average wage back then, okay, a loaf of bread, all right, a carton of eggs, a gallon of milk, okay, would have been a lot cheaper back then as opposed to today, right? But it also goes on to say, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine, okay, which essentially speaking, the oil represents this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, all right, also the wine. Okay, because the scriptures tells us that the law is likened unto a lamp. Let's get a precept. Let's get Proverbs, the 6th chapter. Proverbs 6 and 23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. And this is why the scriptures tells us to take oil for our lamps, right? Also, when you get Matthew, the 25th chapter, going into the 10 virgins, all right, Matthew 25 and 1, it says, then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. All right, so they didn't have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. While this truth was free, okay, as the scripture says, freely ye have received, so freely give, right? And so, beginning with the apostles, elders, and bishops alike on down, you have a lot of people that they're just sitting on the sideline watching us for entertainment purposes. They're not really taking heed, all right, to the scriptures, all right? As the Bible also mentions, we have piped all day long, but you have not danced to the tune. Because the word itself, when the prophets speak it, is likened unto a lovely song, and that's Ezekiel chapter 33 and verse 32. So it goes on to say, all right, verse 4, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. All right, so the wise, okay, they're going to take heed to the Bible and what the prophets are saying, and they're going to latch on to that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. While the bridegroom tarried, okay, because it's seeming like it's taking Yahweh Shai a long time to come back, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight, there was a cry made, all right? And I've mentioned many times, all right, when you go to, let's look up the, real quick, up the doomsday clock, right? So currently, if you look up the doomsday clock, we are, so in 2023, even though we're in 2024 now, All right. The last measure of time was 90 seconds to midnight. You see? So we're currently 90 seconds to that destruction. All right. And Yahweh Shah making his second return coming back. So coming back here, all right, Matthew 25:6. And at midnight, there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom cometh, because Yahweh Shai, he's going to return back when, World War III, is has commenced, and those missiles are shot off, which goes into the seventh trumpet, because we have to be delivered, all right, from we have to be delivered out of six troubles. Matter of fact, we'll come back to that. Let me grab that. Job 21st chapter, I think, or the 27th chapter, or the 5th chapter, Salaki. Job chapter 5 and verse 19, just for context of what I'm saying. He shall deliver thee in six troubles, yea, in seven there shall no evil touch thee. Right? Because what's that seventh trouble? That's the thermonuclear destruction. So we got to be out of here. We got to be beamed up in the ships before those missiles go out, man. All right. So I just wanted to hit that on the head really quickly. So back here in Matthew the 25th chapter, going into that oil and wine, Matthew 25:6, and at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And that's what we should be doing even in these times. We shall be tightened up where we can tighten up. Remember, 2 Corinthians 13:5 says, examine yourselves daily to see if you be in the faith. So it goes on to say, verse 8, and the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, for our lamps are going out. All right. Because even more so now, as we continue to draw in closer to the famine of the word, when the famine of the word hits and the Lord pulls back the prophets off the streets, the hedges, the highways and byways, okay, a lot of Israelites are going to be asked out, and they're going to be searching for this truth. They're going to be searching for the breakdowns, right? So it says, but the wise answered, saying, not so, lest there be not enough for us and you, but go ye rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. So, in that day, okay, the elect, beginning with the apostles on down, all right, essentially they're going to be telling Jake, hey, you better go and get it where you can. Go search it elsewhere, man. All right, because there's another precept that speaks about how we're going to have our hands over our mouths, roughly paraphrasing. All right, verse 10, and while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. So essentially, as it says in Isaiah, I believe either the 24th or the 26th chapter, when we go up into those ships, into the chambers, the doors are going to shut so that we can be hid from the wrath for that moment, which comes via way of that thermonuclear destruction, because the spirit of the Lord is going to be in those missiles, right? And verse 11, afterward came also the other virgins, all right, the ones that took no oil, that messed around with this truth, that didn't take it seriously, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, verily I say unto you, I know you not. So watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. And that's why the scripture says we are to watch and pray. So one more precept before going back, let's get Psalms, the 9th chapter. Proverbs, Salaki. Proverbs chapter 9, dealing with that wine, wisdom. Wisdom's invitation. Proverbs 9:1, wisdom hath builded her house, and she hath hewn out her 7 pillars, and she hath killed her beasts, and she hath mingled or mixed her wine, and she hath also furnished her table. Okay, because we're supposed to come to the supper. This is the marriage. So essentially speaking, when we talk about that wine, really it goes into this knowledge, the wisdom and understanding of the scriptures, right? So now let's go back, now that you got the understanding of that, okay? Revelation 6:6 again, and I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, essentially speaking of the cost of living, right? And it says, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So in other words, don't take away this truth. All right. Don't stop the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Verse 7. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. His name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. Now, essentially, when you go into this word hell, all right, you look it up in the Greek, Hades, okay, which goes back to the Hebrew word Sha'al. It simply means, later use of this word, the grave. It doesn't mean a place where you go to literally burn up in fire in hell. All right. But you got to remember, during the time when this was translated from the Greek Septuagint, you had a lot of Israelites, all right, that were worshiping Greek deities, and one of those deities was Hades. Okay. But when you go back to the root etymology, actually stock it here, see if they have it here. Yeah. In the Strong's definition, all right, Strong's G 1492, properly unseen, i.e. Hades, or the place state of departed souls, which means grave. That's all it means. It doesn't mean that you go down and you burn up for all eternal hellfire, as they like to teach in the Christian church house, right? So going back here, dealing with this pale horse, which represented death, all right, everywhere that death went, the grave followed. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. Now, when it mentions about the fourth part of the earth, this is speaking of America. And how do we know? Let's go here to Wikipedia. Now here, when you look up the New World, all right, during the time, all right, of the era in the 1400s, late 1400s, dealing with Cristobal Colon, which is his real name, but you all know him as Christopher Columbus. The New World back then was known as the fourth part of the world, right? And the proof, let's read this first paragraph here. It says, the term New World is used to describe the majority of lands of Earth's Western Hemisphere, particularly the Americas. The term gained prominence in the early 16th century during Europe's Age of Discovery, and after Italian explorer Amerigo Vespucci published the Latin language pamphlet Mundus Novus, presenting his conclusion that these lands, soon called Americas based on Amerigo's name, constitute a new continent. This realization expanded the geographical horizon of earlier European geographers who had thought that the word only included Afro-Eurasian lands. Africa, Asia, and Europe thus became collectively called the Old World of the Eastern Hemisphere, while the Americas were then referred to as the fourth part of the world, or the New World. Okay, so the Americas, that the Western Hemisphere, is known as the fourth part of the world. So essentially speaking, when you come back here to Revelation, the 6th chapter, let's read it again. Verse 8, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell, or the grave, followed him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, which represents the Western Hemisphere, mainly the Americas. Okay, because that's where the destruction is going to happen. And missiles are going to drop other parts of the world, but mainly America is going to be destroyed, as well as Israel is going to be destroyed as well. But the difference between the two is Israel is going to be rebuilt back up, but America is going to be left utterly a desolate wilderness. It says to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. Now, essentially, this goes into both Second Esdras chapters 15 through 16, because when you read them, they go into the destruction of America, Babylon the Great. All right. So moving on, Revelation 6 and 9, it says, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of the Most High and for the testimony which they held. And this is going into all of those men, okay, that, gave their lives for this truth, or I should say that lost their lives for the witness and testimony of Yahweh Shai. Okay, when you think about the prophets, okay, so much so going all the way back to Abel, because even Yahweh Shah said that the blood of Abel onto Zacharias, all right, should this generation be held in account, roughly paraphrasing. So it goes on to say, verse 10, and they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? So those spirits essentially, all right, that are waiting, okay, in the spiritual realm, that have lost their lives on this side for this truth, the witness of the testimony of Yahweh Shai, they're, anxiously waiting for Yahweh through Yahweh Shai to get revenge, okay, here on the earth. All right, so they're resting right now. They're good, but they are, up there in the spiritual realm, constantly, praying and asking the Heavenly Father, when's the time, hasten the time, right? Verse 11, it says, and white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed, okay, as they were, should be fulfilled. Why? Because part of the elect, you're going to have certain brothers of the elect that are going to be martyred, for this truth. Let's get a precept. They're going to be beheaded. Let's get two precepts. Let's get Revelation 2 and 10, which says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death. See that? I will give thee the crown of life. Let's get another precept, Revelation, the 20th chapter, and verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahweh Shai, and for the word of the Most High, the testimony, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither have received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years, which leads back to them being a part of that number when you go to 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, and the 16th verse, which says, and we'll start at verse 15. But this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. Okay, those souls that lost their lives in this truth. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of the Most High, and the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. See? So that's what it means when it talks about them having white robes up there in the spiritual realm, because when Yahweh Shai comes back, they're going to be the first one risen back up. They're going to get those spiritual bodies. It says, and then we, which represents the remaining of the elect that's here on the planet Earth, because all of the elect, okay, you have the elect here on the planet Earth, but you also have the elect that have died and going back in the spiritual realm. So those that are in the spiritual realm, they are awaiting, okay, for the judgment to come so that they can come back. So it says in verse 17, then we, the rest of the elect, which are alive here on earth and remain, shall be caught up together with them in the clouds. So the rest of the elect that's coming back from the spiritual realm, we're going to be caught up with them to meet the Lord, Yahweh Shai, in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord, And it's funny because Christians, they use this precept as a means to talk about the rapture, but there's no such thing as a rapture. That's not even scriptural. You won't find the word rapture in the Bible. Anyway, so let's get back on track. Revelation 6. All right. And we left off at verse 11. I'm going to read it again. And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. All right. Because there's another thing you got to understand. The way that the Lord works is in Isaiah 55. All right. is everything that he said that came out of his mouth, it has to be accomplished first before he can move in. Isaiah 55:11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So although the elect that is resting in the spiritual realm, they're although they're hastening Yahweh Shema Shah to quickly come and to seek revenge upon them, what they have to understand is that you still have prophecies that have yet to take pass here on the earth before that great day comes. And so everything that was written that came out of the Heavenly Father's mouth, whom he put into the servants, the prophets, to prophesy, everything must go forth and come to pass, all right, before that day comes. Okay? This is why the Bible also talk about, when you get, what is it, 2 Peter? If I can remember. Yeah, 2 Peter 3, the coming of the day of the Lord, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lusts and saying, where is the promise of his coming? Because you got a lot of people, even within Israel community, all right, that they don't even believe Yahweh Shah is coming back. For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. Okay. And see, they don't understand that, everything that the Lord says has to happen first. That has to come to pass. And so one of the two major prophecies we have left before Yahweh Shah makes his second return is you have the MOTB, which is the RFID C hip, and then you have World War III, Armageddon. That has to come to pass before Yahweh Shah makes his second return. Okay, so just wanted to throw that out there to hit the nail on the coffin. So continuing on, Revelation 6 and 12. Now we're getting into the sixth seal, all right, which represents terror. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And what this is going into is the ICBM missiles that's going to hit. Okay. And let's get a precept to prove that. This is Isaiah chapter 34. And I'll start at the top, but the point is at verse 4. It says, the Most High's wrath against the nation. All right. But here it is. And this is an end time prophecy showing you that, majority of our people, especially, you bugged out Jakes that's in Christianity, thinking that the Bible is for everybody, that salvation is for everybody. But here it's clearly telling you the wrath that the Heavenly Father has against the other nations, but yet he's going to have mercy on them. That make sense. Anyway, Isaiah 34:1, which says, come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people, and let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations, right? Which indignation represents righteous judgment. And his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. And their slain also shall be cast out, and their stank shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. So, metaphorically speaking, what does it mean that the mountains shall be melted with your blood? That's going into the ICBM missiles, because what's going to melt a human body? All right, that radiation heat from those missiles. So here's the point, verse 4. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. Speaking of that mushroom cloud from the missile. And all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. All right, and this is speaking of those ICBM missiles, which is going to cause that nuclear destruction. So coming back to Revelation, the 6th chapter. Okay, let's read it again. Verse 12, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, which the stars of heaven represents the missiles, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Now, another precept you can get to clarify this even further is Revelation 8, verses 10 and 11. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. Now, the third part represents Esau, Edom, because the Bible speaks about three classifications of men. The first is the sons of God, and then you have the sons of men, which represents the heathen nations, and then you have the sons of the wicked, which represents the Edomite. They make up the third part. All right. So how you know this is speaking of Esau, Edom being of the third part, because once again, Babylon the Great, America, is going to be hit by, thermonuclear destruction. So it says in verse 11, and the name of the star is called wormwood, which when you go into that, it represents radiation. It says, and the third part of the waters became wormwood. All right. And they became, poisonous. All right. From the radiation from those missiles. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. Okay. Once again, going into the radiation. All right. So verse 12, and the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. All right, because essentially you get Revelation, the 9th chapter, it goes into about how there's going to be 200,000, which represents 2 million warheads on the missiles. All right. And the best example is when you go into what's that movie, X-Men, the Apocalypse. All right, towards the end of the movie, where it shows you a glimpse of how all those missiles, all right, are going to cross over, hitting Babylon the Great, which is America. Okay, from the smoke and everything, a lot of that is going to block out the sun and stuff, man. All right, so John the Revelator is pretty much telling us, all right, the vision that he's seeing. So it goes on to say back here in Revelation 6 and 14, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is scrolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Now, when it says heaven departed as a scroll, this is talking about, metaphorically speaking, Esau falling from his rulership, because heaven in this context represents rulership here on earth. And when it says, and every mountain and island were moved out of her places, all right, figuratively, this is speaking of the governments, because mountain represents governments, and hills, anytime you hear the scripture speak about hills, it represents the smaller governments, right? But literally, this represents America, because America is going to be destroyed. So that's why when you read it, it says, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, all right? Because essentially, all the governments in the world, they're going to be taken down, and America is going to be utterly destroyed. Verse 15, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. Now, essentially, all right, in modern day terms, the holes of the rocks represents what we call today bunkers. Let's get a couple of precepts. Let's get Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. And let's start verse 17. The point is at verse 19. And the loftiness of men shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. And the idols he shall utterly abolish, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks, and into the caves of the earth, for the fear of Yahweh and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. So now, when you go here, You have something that's called deep underground military bases or bunkers, which is called acronym DUMS, right? That's what the acronym DUM stands for. Now, when you go into images, all right, here's one particular image. All right, this is what they're currently doing. All right, they've already got different bases of bunkers set up, so they know what's coming. Okay, and they're not just doing this now, they've been doing this for a very long time. All right, but see, the scripture says this. Let's get a precept, because see, these devils, Esau, Edom, they think that they're going to get away from the judgment that's coming. But let's get Amos, the 9th chapter. The Most High's judgment is what? Unavoidable. So it says here, Amos 9:1, I saw the Lord standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door, which represents like a doorknob, that the post may shake, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword. And he that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. Though they dig into hell, meaning the grave, all right, going back to those bunkers, then shall my hand take them, and though they climb up to heaven, because they're trying to do that, like, you know, an example of climbing up into heaven. Look at Elon Musk sending up SpaceX, right? That's just one of many examples. Hence will I bring them down. So the judgment that's coming to, you know, Esau, Edom is unavoidable, man. You're not going to escape. You're going to go right into captivity. You see, you're not going to escape the judgment. So you can try build up as many bunkers as you want, such as, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. He spent millions building his bunker. You're not going to get away. Okay, let's get a precept once more, Jeremiah 16th chapter. Because what are we going to do? Right? Jeremiah 16 and right around, let's start at verse Jeremiah 16 and 16. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord Yahweh, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. For mine eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from my eyes. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. So this is what's, going to happen. All right. We're going to get those spiritual powers. And this links up with Amos, the 9th chapter, and Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. We're going to go into the holes of the rocks. We're going to go into those bunkers. Okay. As you see here. All right. And they're not going to be able to hide themselves, man. Okay. That's the reason why we're going to need those spiritual powers in that day. They're not going to get away from their judgment. They're going to drink the cup of wrath. Okay. So back here, let's get ready to close out this lesson. All right. So let me read that again. Revelation 6:15. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, which you're not going to be able to hide. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? All right, because there's a precept in the Apocrypha that talks about, the Lord shall utterly beat to powder. Because who's going to be able to stand in Yahushua presence when he comes back? And remember, the scripture says that when he comes back, he's not going to meet thee as a man. So he's going to, this time he's going to come back in his full glory. Okay. So that completes the breakdown to Revelation 6th chapter. All right. And Lord's will, it was edifying. So let's close out. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Hashem, Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that are known as GMS, who taught us this 144% truth. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. And Lord's will, once again, is edifying. And we'll see you on part 7, chapter 7. All right, so shalom.